And the second company, because you've not got just one company, you've got two companies, is Marmalade. And Marmalade is a platform of platforms. Describe how that works.
Yeah, so software developers today face an interesting challenge. They have to write an application and it needs to run on an iPhone and on one of 30 different Android phones. But not just on an iPhone and Android phone, it needs to run on a tablet, it needs to run maybe on a smart TV. There's a very fragmented environment of devices in this post-PC world, as the terminology is, that people want to run their software on. And so it's kind of inefficient to have to rewrite your application for each one of those target environments. So software developers either choose not to do that, in other words, they just write their application for one device and they say we'll ignore the rest of the market, or they try and rewrite their application many times for each of these different target environments, which obviously isn't very efficient.
So what approach do you adopt? Is it like Java, where it sits on the hardware, or is it closer to the hardware?
Yeah, so Marmalade's approach is to recognize that in fact there's common chipset architectures, underlying microchip architectures in all of these devices. And so if we think about writing an application to work directly with the underlying chip, then we can make that application portable across all those different environments. So effectively what Marmalade does is it says write an application, compile that application down to the ARM processor instruction set that will run on a typical ARM processor. ARM processor chips and architectures are used in about 95% of mobile devices. And let's kind of then bolt on what it takes to make it work on a specific operating system like Android or BBX or iOS. And taking that approach means you can write the application once and deploy it in lots of different environments. But because it's a native application running natively on the processor, one isn't compromising on performance, which is typically the problem of running, utilizing a virtual machine as an abstracting technology, which is the other way of going cross-platform. Browsers are and writing in HTML are a great cross-platform way of delivering applications, but browsers don't deliver very high-performance applications.
And that's particularly important for your first set of target customers.
Yeah, so we've worked with games developers as being the first set of target customers, but what we also now see with mobile devices is that they're no longer lightweight things. People used to think of a phone as being an underpowered device. It's no longer an underpowered device. And an iPad is a very powerful piece of equipment, and you can run whole databases, visualization engines, all sorts of things on these environments. They are PCs, just much smaller, and so that means large amounts of software code, and large amounts of software code you don't want to run in browsers. You want to run them as native applications.
But it's almost a distribution system, isn't it? This thing that you're proposing to Marmalade.
So what Marmalade does is it helps. We license the software developers. They can build their applications, and then they can target them to lots of different environments. But that is a publishing process whereby the developer effectively wants to distribute their software to all these different target devices. And in fact, Marmalade helps that distribution process as well. That's another way of adding value. Because applications are changing from being something that you might write once, put on a CD and ship out, to being something that you are in fact iterating constantly. And if anybody who has a smartphone will notice that they get updates to their apps quite regularly, at least once a month, because apps are becoming runtime things. So in this cross-platform world, what Marmalade is doing is providing an efficient way for an application to be continuously iterated and allow it to be distributed continuously to all these different environments.